Good evening, ladies, gentlemen. My goodness, we have to have a discussion. A rather important discussion. Whether I leave this live stream up or not will be debated. It's rather late here for this evening, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful Sunday evening. But recently, I've been making a lot of Mindmed videos, and I've been getting a lot of attention, a lot of people messaging me. And I've just kind of come to this concerning factor that people don't understand their risk assessment of companies like Mindmed. And these conversations have really made my jaw hit the floor. And I've been having a lot of conversations with even people in my girlfriend, my own family. We've been kind of discussing this about how people get blinded by greed. They start losing the path of understanding the risk and the association that they're taking on. And I want to talk a little bit about Mindmed more specifically because I think it's going to be an exemplifier. And I'm going to give you some of my ideas on where I think the stock's going as well in the short term. But I have limited exposure to the company right now, and I want to explain to you why, but I want to do this cautiously because anytime I start talking about my personal exposure to Mindmed, I usually lose an onslaught of subscribers because anytime I talk negatively about the company, people just hate. But I don't want you guys to hate. I just want you to understand where I'm coming from because I don't want you guys to lose money. Mindmed to me was a well-worthy cause. And most people, I encourage you to go back and watch my initial Mindmed video on the valuations I put on the stock, because I said this could easily be a 2 billion and expected by the time these drug trials come through, maybe a $5 or $10 billion company. And here we sit today. Mindmed is worth over $2 billion, and I don't even think people are aware that the stock price has hit that valuation target in such a short period of time. And I find it utterly fascinating that I didn't realize that when I'm kind of hyping this company up to a lot of people, and you can just go look at the comment section of some of the people I replied to on my last MyMed video, people don't understand to even how to value a pharmaceutical company, which really terrifies me because there's people with their portfolio 30% leveraged right now in MindMed stock. And I asked them, would you buy MindMed at these levels? And they said, no, I bought it for 70 cents. I bought it for 50 cents. Why the hell would I want to be buying it now? And it's just like, okay, well, you've got over 50, $100,000 in this company. If you're not willing to buy it at these levels, why are you comfortable holding it at these levels? Because that means you're bearish on the stock. You think it's overvalued, right? And I've been getting valuation metrics from people now on MindMed, and it's starting to take a new phase, a new shift of focus from Reddit. And it scares me a little bit. And the reason it scares me is because the company has no underlying fundamentals except for the cash on the balance sheet. And people rebutted me trying to explain to me why MindMed has value. And they're like, well, it has an app they're launching, it has all this other stuff and these connections and this. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that equate to cash flow? And they say, well, cash flow doesn't matter. Your growth stock, cash flow doesn't matter. Let me tell you why cash flow matters on any company. Guys, it's going to be like a rudimentary entry level for anybody that's new to the market. Cash flow matters because it's the blood source of every business. If you do not have cash flow, eventually your company will go to zero. And let me give you a really great example. You guys know highly on stock. You know, a lot of these SPAC stocks that merged that were all companies based off future expectation of income. Look at those stocks, how they're doing right now. I mean, they've lost 70, 80% of their value, most of them. And you want to know why? Because eventually execution matters. If you cannot get execution under your belt and start proving a baseline of where the company is going, there's no reason for the stock price to be going up. When I bought MindMed for 40, 50 cents, when it was trading for 150 to $200 million market cap, I was putting two, five, $10 billion price targets saying that the stock is easily going to be a $10, $20 stock, right? And now people are coming at me and they're like, you sold out before it was even a $20 stock. You were giving it these huge price targets, Kyle. And now you're not even holding, you just pumped and dumped it. I said, do you realize if the company didn't do share dilution, it would be worth $20 today? I'm like, do you guys even understand what the company is doing? That the fact that they've raised money, that they've done this amount of dilution, the fact that it's now the largest psychedelic company in the whole world, it is the industry leader. Do you remember that not even 3, 4, 5 months ago that the company was like, it was a microcosm in the psychedelic sector, right? So I'm like, I absolutely am bullish on this sector. I absolutely love what Mindmed is doing, but I don't want the stock to get carried away from the valuation prospects of the company, because what you guys are paying for Mindmed today is on the assumption that these drugs have already worked out, and they're in the stage of FDA approval and trying to find a way to get this into prescription based models in humans' hands. Guys, we are several years out from Mindmed achieving any kind of cash flow in any light that would justify the $2 billion valuation. And I'm not saying this to sell the stock by any means. To me, it is a beautiful spec play. I think the company could still jump 5 or 10 fold just on hype when these drug trials come through. I am so insanely bullish on this. What I am not bullish on is the insane amount of ignorance flooding into the stock right now, and the insane amount of tolerance and the lack thereof tolerance of people that are going to sit here for the next 3, 5, several years while all of this comes into fruition, guys. Because when I watch news come out that the stock is now finally going to get through its NASDAQ uplisting and the stock shoots up 60%, $500 million in value, are those people truly people buying it for the reasons that I bought it? For the reasons that I want to see a change in the way that we deal with mental health and the way we deal with drug addiction, because I'm tired of the fact that we sweep it all under a rug. I love the fact that all this attention to Mindmed is shining a light on this problem in this sector of the market that needs to be disrupted really bad, like yesterday. But these people don't care about that. These people are buying the stock based off Reddit forum pushes and based off this stock is going to be so hyped, the stock is going to be so huge. And then when I actually talk to these people, they have no common sense of how to value the company. They have no valuation prospects. They never bought the stock actually valuing it themselves. They purely bought it off hype, off what someone's telling them. And like I said, I'm a victim to hyping this stock up. Of course I am. I've been hyping this stock to the moon and back, and I'm sitting here today in this really odd set of circumstances where my valuation on the company came into fruition. And I'm sitting here being like, if you were holding this company today, you're purely gambling. It is the definition of walking up to a roulette table and putting it on red and praying to God that the stock continues to go up and that you're going to trade it or swing trade it or do whatever. But the stock itself is running away, and it is heading into a place where I hope that if you are over leveraged in the company, if Mindmed makes up 10, 20, 30% of your portfolio, that you have some kind of intuition, if you're up like I was, hundreds of percent, up 500, 800% on the stock, that you're at least taking some profit off the table. I mean, this is the time to do that. This is your time to take profit, because like from going from the time from December to when they finally got their NASDAQ listing, you know how many people got bored? You know how many people couldn't handle the downtrending and the lack of attention and the lack of care to the industry? They all sold out. I mean, that's why I was taking profits at the top. And when I made my video, I was joking about this with Matt, that like when Mindmed did its initial run up, that it was getting out of control, and I was like, I got to take profit here. So I take some profit. I make a video about it. That was my worst day for subscriber growth in my YouTube channel's history. I lost a ton of subscribers that day. And do you know what happened to the stock after the fact? It dropped, 30, 40% into the future. And I just don't think people understand what they're getting themselves into, the people that are buying this stock. I think they're getting caught up in the cause, which I believe in a lot, but that cause and greed is making them overlook their investment strategy. And it scares the hell out of me, because there's nothing wrong with owning Mindmed. There's nothing wrong with buying Mindmed. I have nothing against it. I think it's one of the greatest spec plays I've ever captured. I mean, it was a moonshoot. I captured a unicorn, baby, buying it for 50 cents on the dollar. We just watched a $100 million company become worth billions. And I'm fortunate enough to say that we started from the bottom and we recognized it and I caught it. I mean, you guys go watch my videos. I can't get over that. I was like, I captured a lottery ticket and I told myself that, look, I'd be an idiot not to scale this position, because I recognized it and I did, and it worked out. It's great. But that's not the circumstance that we're sitting in right now. People are buying this and they just want it to unicorn again. And they're just expecting it to run up. And there's nothing saying that Reddit can't turn this into a 10 or $20 billion industry in the next coming months. There's by no means saying that that might not become a possibility. I'm just saying that if that becomes a true reality, the stock is no longer connected to the business. And now the business has to catch up to that. And like using Tesla as a good example here, right? Like Tesla has a crazy valuation put on it, But the difference between Tesla's speculation and Mindmed is Tesla did $30 billion in revenue in 2020, and they're still expected to well exceed that in 2021. And we can kind of fundamentally base future expectations off the current growth rate. And so long as they're able to continue to execute on that growth rate and bring some of these absurd ideas that Elon, even though says will be coming, usually take a lot longer than Elon. Elon sets high expectations, but I guess that gives some drive to the employees. I mean, it takes longer than he says, but usually it'll happen. So long as those things come into fruition over the coming years and we start seeing it reflect to the balance sheet, it's really easy to understand the future expectation and understand where you're going. But guys, MindMed is an industry where nobody knows the outcome. And this is what me and my boy that's in here, Matt Money, have discussed multiple times. The psychedelic sector right now, people don't even know how it's going to come into fruition on the FDA approval side. People aren't even aware that there's companies in Canada right now that have licensed approval from the Canadian government to distribute psilocybin substances to people in late stage life or death situations, late stage cancer patients, because it's helping them cope with death. It's actually giving them some kind of coping mechanism. So there's companies right now that are going beyond the FDA fast track approvals to distribute these drugs. And it's happening in different levels in different places. Like, look at Europe. I mean, Europe is already getting things like Red Light Holland, which is already distributing this substance to the retail person. You can buy it off the retail. You can buy it off the street. It's legal there. So I mean, people don't understand that this isn't like a regular drug approval process. And I'm highly concerned. And these are just some of the risks. Like I said, I am bullish as hell on MyMed. I love the company. I just want you guys to understand that we don't know what this several years outcome is going to look like. There's nothing saying that MyMed doesn't go through all of these approval processes, and then we find out that these drugs are too out of control, they're too potent, and they're too hard to maintain to know, like from person to person, they're vastly different effects. So there might be a chance, and this is one of my biggest concerns, is the highly $10 billion, $50 billion valuation that I would put on MindMed will only ever come into fruition if these drugs can become prescribed. If we can get a prescription-based model, and there's a lot of fears that this isn't going to happen because the effects are too strong and they're too hard to and then again, that's debatable because in Red Light Holland, right? Like, people can just pick this stuff up off the street. So it's just really debatable on what the final outcome is going to look like. And if there's any example I can give you, look at the MJ market. The MJ market is a place where people could take THC, change the molecule, try and make it into a drug, get FDA approval, and bring it to market. But hey, this is an open source drug, baby. Anybody can do it. You can't own patent rights to this. It grows out in the ground. It's a mushroom, for Christ's sakes. You have to understand, guys, we don't know what the full spectrum of outcome is going to look like. And it's concerning because if we end up going, say, the treatment route, which I want to happen, is the treatment route. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the numbers of you having to bring somebody into a clinic to do a 3-day, psilocybin experience to try and help them cope with their PTSD, their anxiety, their opioid addiction. It's a very long, costly process where it's not about the margins. Like, at that point, guys, it's not about making money. It's about curing addiction, using government taxpayer dollars to cure addiction. And what I'm trying to get you guys to do is separate your fixation on greed from the fundamental reality of the company, because it's an exciting industry. It's an exciting company, but I'm just trying to get you to look beyond your glazed over eyes of the stock running up hundreds of percent, right? And like I said, I'm bullish on the company. Don't unsubscribe. My girlfriend's holding shares. My mama's holding shares. I really want this to work out, but I'm just concerned that Reddit's going to take over the stock and it's going to become a different thing. And that bothers me a lot because I would rather hold the stock and watch it flatline for the next 2 to 3 years while these phase trials start rolling out, just to get some real value. This company is literally worth zero today. You are paying a $2 billion valuation for a company that is worth $0. And I can't get over that. There's people out there that are trying to explain to me why MyMed has value. I'm like, you clearly don't understand how the pharmaceutical sector works. I can show you dozens of examples of companies right now that literally are going through the same thing MindMed did, where they came up with a drug. There's an Afghani company that said they came up with a cure to the common cold. There's never been a cure to the common cold. The common cold has killed millions of people over the years. It's a deadly disease that we've never had a cure for. So this company claimed that they have a cure. They were showing great phase 2B trials. Everything was phenomenal. I wish I knew the ticker off the top of my head and I could tell you guys to go look at it. This stock ran up to like, I can't remember what the price on it was. It was like a $40 or $50 stock. It ran from pennies to being worth billions of dollars. And then you know what happened? Phase 3 trials rolled around and they released a statement that said, hey guys, unfortunately, we couldn't see a result difference between the placebo and the actual drugs themselves. And you know what happened? That stock went to pennies within 2 days. That stock lost 98% of its value in 2 days. And that, I don't think that's going to happen with Mindmed, because the value proposition that I put on Mindmed was the reality that this is the first time ever that you can buy a pharmaceutical company running phase trials where we know for a high degree of certainty what those results are going to look like, because these drugs have already been tested in the 40 or the 50s and 60s aggressively, and people are self-medicating them now, finding absurdly huge results. However, like I said, so my bet on the company, the valuation prospect was like, look, I don't know what the final result of income for this company is going to look like, but if you buy it today and you can hold on to it for the next 3 years until we get through phase 3 trials, that you're going to make a lot of money, because those phase 3 trials are going to show significantly, mind-blowing results. And you can already go look at the results that have been achieved from John Hopkins University. Like John Hopkins, like when you listen to them talk about these substances, they said if you told somebody that these drugs existed, a doctor, they would say that's not true. There's no way that's true. It's impossible. These drugs are less toxic than over-the-counter Tylenol. It is almost impossible to OD on them unless you have an underlying heart condition that freaks you out and you have a heart attack. And these drugs show insane resolved issues and results after one use case. They tested this on smokers, and I think it was 83% of smokers were able to quit smoking after one use for more than 3 months. You know how hard it is to quit smoking? I've been a smoker. I've gone through this up and down cycle for a long time, and finally I've quit. Haven't smoked for nicotine for, I think it's been like 5, 6 months. It's been a while. I've really pushed it back, but God, it's a hard thing, right? And now that, like, look at, for example, like the guy that created AA meetings. Most people aren't even aware the guy that created AA meetings because he had a psychotropic effect from LSD or something, and it got him to quit drinking. He was drinking for several years and couldn't quit. And then one psychotropic effect on his brain made him quit. And he's like, holy crap. So he started AA meetings with the intention to bring psychedelics into them. That never happened. And that was like 40 years ago. And we still have AA meetings where people aren't getting their problems resolved. So I think if you can look at it if you're making a bet, and that's what I did with Mindmed, guys. Mindmed is a lottery ticket. It is a speculation based off what I can presume is going to happen on these phase 3 trials. If that becomes a reality, the stock will shoot to the moon. However, after that, I don't know what happens. I don't know if Mindmed will ever prove or justify its valuation in the next 7 years, because we only have one drug trial that's coming up in the next 3. You have to understand, even after get these drug trials done, it'll still take a couple years to get full FDA approval. And then it'll still take another year to roll it out, get it into a subscription-based model, get it into a model that they approve of to do it in clinics or whatever. And then seeing how that comes into fruition in margins and profit margins. And what are they charging for these drugs? These, maybe the government will just fund them themselves because this problem is just as bad as this pandemic. I don't know what the outcome is going to be here, guys. But like I said, I just wanted to do a quick stream to help you guys bring this into reality and know what you're doing. So if you have your portfolio over leveraged in Mindmed, please, for the love of God, take some profit. Please. I just don't want you to lose money. And it's scary that my girlfriend, who's only been investing for a year, has more common sense about how she invests, because she was telling me this. She needs to start a YouTube channel. I tell her this a lot. You need to start a financial YouTube channel, because my God, you're spitting stuff that like is the truth that all these people still haven't figured out for themselves, because greed will blind you. And if there hasn't been a better exemplifier than the SPAC industry, guys, we get caught up in greed. We lose focus on our risk tolerance, and you're going to get screwed. And I don't want it to be with Mindmed. I want Mindmed to work out. I love the company. It's been one of my passion projects, one of my few speculations in the market that I've never had such a passion for, because we've all been affected by the cause. But please, guys, please don't become an ignorant Reddit user and buy into this hype and think that the stock should just run up to a $50 billion valuation when they literally, go ask Kevin O'Leary, literally zero underlying fundamentals, zero underlying cash flow, zero future expectations for cash flow, zero expectations for margins on cash flow, zero expectations for how these drugs come into fruition, even if they become FDA approved and non-open source drugs. If anybody can even hone in on markets and be the dominating source, nobody knows. Alls we know is that these markets are massive in scope. The drugs that exist don't work at all, and this shit needs to be changed like yesterday. So on that note, if you guys enjoyed the stream, you want me to do more streams, consider hitting a like, and maybe we'll do a question and answer streams. But we try and keep the live streams for the passive income educator. That is our live stream channel. We do live streams there every Friday. Come join myself in the seven-figure mind, soon to be seven-figure mind of Matt Money. Combined, we have over 7 million or 7 million. Combined, we have over $1 million invested in the market. We shoot the shit every Friday. So come join us over there. But for now, I'm going to finish up. Stay cool, stay awesome, and more importantly, stay diligent, folks. Peace.